All right, I'm gonna say right off the bat, if you're not a fan of me talking to the camera for a while, that's really all you're probably gonna see in this video. So maybe click away, find a different video. I won't be offended whatsoever. I filmed the whole process of me making the thing I'm about to show you, and then in hindsight, I realized you guys are all smart enough to figure out how to make something like this. I'm gonna explain, my thought process going into it, but you guys don't need to see me make the thing because it's really simple to make. First, I wanna explain what led me to needing to make the thing. Okay, we're at the table saw. We always talk about outfeed support, right? We don't want material falling off onto the ground. It's nice to have something on the outfeed side of things. What we don't really ever talk about is the infeed side. In traditional operation, let's say I have this decent little piece here. Okay, this piece is extremely manageable. I can keep it flat to the table. I can keep it flat up against the fence, and I can drive this through. Right? Easy. I'm gonna get a nice, beautiful cut on this. What happens when I get something much longer or wider and really heavier, okay? It's a little harder to manage. In that case, I'm gonna have this board up here, and I have two different things that I need to worry about, right? Because I'm nowhere near the saw at this point, okay? And let's say that this is even longer. I need to worry about the up and down, right? I need to be flat on the table. I also need to be left and right because I need to make sure that I'm up tight against the fence, right? That's how we get a good cut at the saw, is if we're up tight against the fence. So as I'm here, I'm kind of trying to navigate this, okay? And I think I have it, but as I go, maybe I get a little bit of wobble here, and then I have to reposition at some point and I get another wobble because we have no support out here. We have this tiny little section of table. We have a slightly less tiny section of fence. And when you start talking about some wider things or longer things, things get a little bit sketchy. So I came up with this. This is a simple auxiliary fence. It is 3 boards. I milled mine out of ash because I have more ash in here than anything else right now. And I don't have any decent plywood to make this out of it. I'm actually glad I made it out of hardwood because I can take it apart and tune it up later if need be. And we'll talk about that here in just a second. This simply goes right here. That's it. It just attaches to the fence. We can use F-style clamps, a couple twists here. We can use tabletop clamps, track clamps. Okay, easy. It's already done, and I'm ready to turn on the saw and start rocking and rolling. What does this do for us? It's 3 boards, all screwed together. It's almost 5 feet long. I had to cut a couple inches off because of some planer snipe that I had that I just didn't want on there. You could make it however long you wanted to, but it's simple. You have a back piece that's about the same height as your regular fence here, your stock fence. Then you have another piece here that is the, let's say, base piece. This is really what the material is going to ride up against. And then we have a piece here that is our infeed support, and that's all there is to it. And because it clamps to the table and obviously detaches so easily, this is so easy to have in the shop, so easy to make up. Now what I have is I have some outfeed support, okay? It doesn't need to be super wide. We don't need to support the whole thing because we're still standing here holding this. We just need our table to extend just a little bit, okay? So now I'm not so worried about the up and down because I can just set it there. I also have a lot more fence to work with now. So instead of having this little bit where I'm trying to do this, I can have it tied up against here. So now I can hit the blade because the blade's gonna be right there. I can run up against here and then I can sneak up and I can finish running this all the way through. World of difference. Having that much more ledger here to be able to catch material, or to be able to support material, excuse me, as it goes in. And then having this not flex one way or another is super helpful too. So again, probably a good thing we made it out of hardwood. I screwed it together, and that's so that I can take this apart and tune it up. So this part can be detached, and I could take a hand plane to here. So in the event that this does start to get beat up and it ends up with a spot that keeps getting beat up over time and it starts to compress, or it just starts to move on me because it is solid wood, I can just take this to the bench, take a hand plane to it, straighten that all back out, get it back on here, and it's as good as new. As far as dimensions go, like I say, it's almost 5 feet long. This piece is 16 inches, but again, you could make it wherever length or width or anything else you wanted. One key factor was for me, was to have the width be a whole number. because I use the scale on the rail that the fence registers off of. So this sight window here is always dialed into the blade that I'm using within reason. But if I'm gonna keep thin curved blades in there for a while, I dial this into thin curved blades. So that when I come over here, I say, hey, I need to rip a piece at 4 inches. I set it to 4 inches and I know it's gonna be a 4-inch piece. Now I know not everybody does that. A lot of people like to measure. And if you like to measure from the blade to the fence, then it doesn't really matter how wide this is. You just wanna make sure that it's wide enough and tall enough to be strong. Because if it's too narrow or too short, I guess it is, you're gonna introduce being able to flex. So that was kind of the thought in my head going into this, is I wanted it to be just wide enough to be strong and just tall enough to be strong without being overwhelming and using too much material. But for me, if I need a piece that's 6 inches wide, I just add the 3 inches into that. So that's 9 inches. I just set this at 9 inches and I rip my piece and away I go. So that's why I made it to be a whole number like that. What else is there? Really, I think that's it. It's so simple and it's so, like, for me anyways, I'm excited about it. It's kind of eye-opening. Like I say, it's such a pain in the butt when you get in there and you're wobbling back and forth and you're going up and down and you're trying to get that piece on there to hold still. I'm making a sled with this melamine to be able to straight line rip longer boards that are 6 feet long. But when I started setting that up, I started realizing how much of a pain it was to hold that sled up there, because the melamine's heavy, plus the board that's on it. And if you're gonna be using a sled for straight line rip, you want a straight line. You don't want a wobbly line and then eventually a straight line, right? So now that's gonna help me be able to support this weight. We'll probably talk about this in another video. I just wanted to share this with you guys. That's all I got for you guys today. Thanks so much for watching as always. We'll see you guys in the next video.